Muito bem, muito bem. Olá, pessoas. Eu sou Paulo Koi. Estamos aqui de volta com a nossa série de Dragon Age Origins. Espero que vocês estejam curtindo. Então, por favor, não se esqueçam de deixar o like no vídeo, se inscrever no canal, ativar as notificações, ativa o sininho para vocês não perderem nada. E aos pouquinhos, estou voltando aqui a fazer lives na Twitch. Eu tava com problema de conexão e eu não tava conseguindo fazer minhas transmissões aqui. Então, se vocês quiserem acompanhar as gravações dos vídeos ao vivo, o link está na descrição. Por volta das 8 horas da manhã. Depende muito se eu conseguir acordar no horário, mas por volta das 8 horas da manhã eu já estou ao vivo aqui nesta humilde plataforma, jogando videogame aqui com vocês, certo? Então vamos lá, nós temos aqui o Enchantment, aqui atrás, nós temos uma outra paradinha aqui do lado, que eu não lembro o que é, e estamos no acampamento. Basicamente, o que está rolando aqui, se eu não me engano, a partir de agora, o jogo abre para o mundo aberto, tá? Ele é meio que mundo aberto, então se eu não me engano, a partir de agora, o jogo passa a ser mundo aberto. Mas vamos dar uma coisa que a gente não fez na nossa primeira série de Dragon Age Origins, foi fazer as quests dos Companions. Então a gente vai conversar com os Companions, lembrando que a madeirada, o meteco, vai ser só com a Morrigan, porque é o nosso crush eterno. Cara, não vai ter... Eu não vou trair a minha waifu nunca. Em nenhum... Dragon Age é Morrigan. Morrigan com 700 anos de idade vai ser a Morrigan. O que você precisa? Eu gostaria de perguntar algo. O que o Templário faz exatamente? Vamos lá, vai.
Essentially, they're trained to fight. The Chantry would tell you that the Templars exist simply to defend. But don't let them fool you. They're an army. The other main purpose for a Templar is, of course, to hunt mages. To that end, we train in talents that drain mana and disrupt spells.
Outros não poderiam aprender esses talentos?
Perhaps, but there usually isn't much of an opportunity. The Chantry keeps a close rein on its Templars. We are given lyrium to help develop our magical talents, you see. Which means we become addicted. And since the Chantry controls the lyrium trade with the dwarves, well, I'm sure you can put 2 and 2 together.
Zé Droguinha. Então quer dizer que você era viciado em lírio, seu Zé Droguinha. Aí, ó. Além de ser insuportável, o Alistair é um baita de um Zé Droguinha.
Thankfully, no. You only start receiving lyrium once you've taken your vows. You don't need lyrium in order to learn the Templar talents. Lyrium just makes Templar's talents more effective. Or so I was told. Maybe it doesn't even do that. The Chantry usually doesn't let their Templars get away either, so they can spread their secrets. I'm a bit of an exception. Lucky me. What do you need? Ask away.
Você tem mais alguma coisa? Consegue ensinar outros a serem templários? Isso aqui faz com que eu ganhe uma especialização, cara. Conte-me sobre os Guardiões Cinzentos.
Such as they are.
Onde os Guardiões Cinzentos mais próximos daqui?
That's a good question. There's plenty in Orlais, but who knows where they might be found. And the nearest Orlesian city is weeks away. If we go north and cross the sea, there's bound to be some in the free marches. Again, however, I just don't know where. I don't know anything about Grey Wardens in other lands.
Burro. Tem um quartel-general em algum lugar? Tem um quartel-general em algum lugar?
Here in Ferelden, there's our compound in Denerim at the palace, but that's it. Loghain will have control over that and be watching it, no doubt.
Sabe de nada.
Beyond that, the only place I know of is Weishaupt Fortress. That's the headquarters of all Grey Wardens in the Anderfells, 1,000 miles from here. But I've no idea how to even contact them. So unless we try to get back to the compound in Denerim, I suppose the answer is no. There's nowhere for us to go.
O Weishaupt é um... Weishaupt. É uma expansão que a gente vai jogar, inclusive. O que acontece agora que só tem nós dois?
I imagine that eventually the Grey Wardens outside of Ferelden will wonder what's happened. Why there's no contact from Duncan or someone. They'll send someone eventually. Though who knows what Logain's people in Denerim will tell them. Maybe they won't send anyone. We could try to contact them. But that would mean leaving Ferelden, and even if we did, they couldn't come back with us in time to stop the Blight. So that means whatever happens, it's up to us.
Nós precisaremos começar a reconstruir a Ordem?
I mean, eventually we would have to use the joining to make more Grey Wardens, right? But I don't know how to do the joining, or what's involved. I know it involves lyrium and some other magic, and that it's really difficult to prepare, but that's it. Unless we can find out more about the joining, I guess we better get used to the idea that there might only be two of us for now. Until more come from elsewhere.
O que aconteceria se fôssemos embora?
Just left? You mean just left Ferelden? I don't know. If there's an archdemon, however, we're supposed to be the only ones who can defeat it. And that means the Blight would grow unchecked. Eventually, other Grey Wardens in Orlais and other lands would hear about it, and they would come to fight it, but they wouldn't come in time to save Ferelden. There's no way. I'm not going anywhere. About the Grey Wardens, anyhow. Fair enough. What do you need?
Deixa eu ver se tem mais informações. Como você se tornou um guardião cinzento?
Same way you did. You drink some blood, you choke on it, and pass out. You haven't forgotten already, have you?
Se você não quer responder, não diga.
You're cute when you get all irritable, you know that.
Eu sou
Get this little knot right between your... Oh, never mind. Let's see, I was in the Chantry before. I trained for many years to become a Templar, in fact. That's where I learned most of my skills.
Você não parece ser do tipo religioso. Que habilidades poderia ser?
Well, it wasn't an easy life, you know. I don't know whether or not you've noticed, but I'm not exactly the Chantry type. The Grand Cleric didn't want to let me go. Duncan was forced to conscript me, actually, and was she ever furious when he did. I thought she was going to have us both arrested. I was lucky.
Por que a Grande Clériga queria ficar com você?
I wondered that myself. It's not as if she valued me highly. I think she just didn't want to give anything to the Grey Wardens, is all. The Chantry didn't lose much. And I think I can do more fighting the Blight anyhow, rather than sitting in a temple somewhere. I'll always be thankful to Duncan for recruiting me. If it hadn't been for him, you know, I would never... I wouldn't have.
Eu não deveria tê-lo mencionado. Sinto muito. Não comece a chorar, por favor.
Yes, you're right. I should be angry for what happened to him, not sad. I shouldn't forget what Logain did. Come on, let's go. I think I'm done talking.
Chega. Isso, -4, é isso mesmo. Eu quero que ele me odeie, porque eu já odeio ele. Então assim, ódio trocado, fica tudo em casa, sacou? Liliana, vamos lá.
Yes?
Essa é outra chatinha, mas menos pior. Eu gostaria de conversar.
Well, here I am.
Essa é a sua visão.
I knew this would come up sooner or later. I don't know how to explain, but I had a dream. In it, there was an impenetrable darkness. It was so dense, so real. And there was a noise, a terrible, ungodly noise. I stood on a peak and watched as the darkness consumed everything. And when the storm swallowed the last of the sun's light, I fell, and the darkness drew me in. When I woke, I went to the Chantry's gardens, as I always do. But that day, the rose bush in the corner had flowered. Everyone knew that bush was dead. It was grey and twisted and gnarled, the ugliest thing you ever saw. But there it was, a single beautiful rose. It was as though the Maker stretched out his hand to say, even in the midst of this darkness, there is hope and beauty. Have faith.
Isso é apenas ilusão? E isso fez você querer me ajudar?
In my dream, I fell. Or maybe I jumped. I'd do anything to stop the blight. I know that we can do it. There are so many good things in the Maker's world. How can I sit by while the blight devours everything?
O chantre diz... O chantre, pra quem ainda não entendeu, é tipo a igreja do jogo, tá? É tipo a religião. O chantre diz que o Criador nos abandonou.
He's still here. I hear him in the wind and the waves. I feel him in the sunlight that warms my skin. I know what the Chantry says about the Maker, and what should I believe? What I feel in my heart, or what others tell me?
Boa. Você está dizendo que o chantre está errado?
They said my ideas were blasphemy. But is it so bad if what I believe gives me comfort? If it could give someone else comfort? I know what I know, and no one will ever make that untrue.
Ah, doido. Vamos continuar batendo papo.
Yes? Well, here I am.
Como era a sua vida no claustro do chantre?
Quiet. It was a life suited for contemplation. In the cloister, away from the fuss and the flurry of the cities, I found peace. And in that stillness, I could hear the Maker. But it was not perfect. Some of my chantry fellows were condescending. That is the nature of religious folk, I suppose.
Condescendente? Como assim?
When I talked about my beliefs, that the Maker reveals himself in the beauty of his world, they treated me with disdain. They want to believe that he's gone, so that when he turns his gaze on them, it means they are special, chosen. He cannot possibly have love for all, the sick and the weary, the beggars and the fools.
Meu Deus. Eu não quero que o Criador fique me inspecionando de qualquer forma. O que você disse a eles?
What can I say to them? What they believe is what the Chantry says, and the Chantry is infallible, yes? Maybe I am wrong. But it is the Maker's place to decide if I am worthy, not men, not the Chantry. But there is work to be done, and I have talked enough for now.
Não, jovem, peraí, não, calma.
Yes?
Vamos continuar conversando.
Well, here I am.
Calma. O que alguém como você estaria fazendo na capela em Lotharing?
What is meant by someone like me?
Você não parece fazer parte de um monastério. Você sabe, é uma mulher linda e encantadora como você. Olha aí. Santa Rona, enfadonha, com todos esses Nossa, não, peraí. Vamos lá, vamos mandar um 2. Vamos ser um galante.
And there were no beautiful, charming women in the cloisters, you think? You would be wrong. There were many lovely young initiates in the Lothering cloister. All of them chaste and virtuous. It added to their mystique. Because then, they were forbidden. And forbidden fruit is the sweeter, no?
Que isso? Então podemos voltar para Lotharing agora? Aquelas iniciadas não poderiam ser mais adoráveis do que você. Olha aí.
Flatterer. I, however, did not take vows, and so perhaps I am not as enigmatic? The Chantry provides succor and safe harbor to all who seek it. I chose to stay and become affirmed.
Afirmar?
We affirm our belief in the Maker, in Andraste and the chant, but other than that, there are no vows taken.
Galera, segura aí só um instantinho que os cachorros estão ivando ali. Deixa eu dar um grau neles. Segura aí. Pronto. Deixa eu ver. Pronto. Voltei. Porque tá chovendo horrores aqui na região. E aquelas chuvas que não param, tá ligado? Tá toda madrugada e aí invade pela manhã e tal. E aí como eles ficam tem um quartinho. Eles têm um quartinho, cara, só pra eles lá no quintal. Quartinho arrumado. Só que eles ficam presos. Não presos, né? Mas eles não ficam soltos no quintal por conta da chuva. E como eu tô sozinho hoje em casa, eles acham que ficam sozinhos também. Então, talvez eles não estejam conseguindo ouvir minha voz. E eles começam a uivar, pensando que estão sozinhos. O que você fez antes disso? Boa.
I was a traveling minstrel in Orlais. Tales and songs were my life. I performed, and they rewarded me with applause and coin. And my skill in battle? Well, you pick up different skills when you travel, yes? Yes, of course. Let's move on.
Opa, ela era uma barda, então. Codex, ó, atualizou a...
Yes?
Deixa eu ver se tem mais coisa.
Something you need? Yes? What's on your mind?
É, porque você decidiu vir para Ferelden? É, porque ela é de Orley, né? É, porque você decidiu vir para Ferelden?
My mother was from Denerim, and I consider myself a Ferelden. Mother served an Orlesian noblewoman who lived here when Orley ruled. When Orley was defeated and the common folk began to resent the presence of any Orlesian, the lady returned to Orley. She took my mother with her. I was born in Orley and did not set foot in Ferelden till much later. Mother was always telling me stories of her homeland. I think she missed it.
O que aconteceu com sua mãe?
Mother died when I was very young. Lady Cecily let me stay with her. I had no one else. She was quite old then, and she had me study music and dance to entertain her. It is unfair that I have more memories of Cecily than my mother.
Oh. Você não se lembra de nada de sua mãe?
Strangely, the only thing I really remember of Mother was her scent. She kept dried flowers in her closet amongst her clothes. Small white Ferelden wildflowers with a sweet fragrance. Mother called them Andrastis Grace. They were very rare in Orley. But enough about that. Let us move on.
Ó, mais 6 pontos com Liliana. Essas conversas são importantes pra gente entender qual tipo de presente que eles vão gostar de receber. Por exemplo, o Alistair, em um determinado momento do diálogo com ele, ele fala que ele pegou um amuleto que era da mãe dele e ele jogou pela janela. Ou jogou na parede, quebrou. Ela já tá falando de flores, da graça de Andraste. Entendeu? Então a gente já meio que já começa a traçar o rolê. Gostaria de conversar sobre algo... Vamos continuar.
What's on your mind?
Você sente falta de alguma coisa em Orley?
I miss Valroyo. Unlike other cities where the people are the lifeblood and the character, Valroyo was her own person, and her people little more than decorations. There was always music in Valroyo, streaming from the many windows, quiet refrains and triumphant choruses, and always, floating above that all, the chant, coming from the Grand Cathedral. It was magnificent.
Parece incrível.
Oh, it would take me a day or two to talk about the many splendors of Orley, her golden fields, her lush meadows. Of course, there are good things and bad things about Orley, like anywhere else. Sometimes I miss it dearly, and sometimes I'm glad I'm rid of it. And you will laugh at this, but I miss the fine things I had in Orley.
Que tipo de coisas?
Dresses, fine dresses and furs, and shoes, of course. One can't mingle with nobility with bad shoes, you see. Orley is very fashionable, almost ridiculously so. But the shoes, living with those ridiculous trends was worth it for the shoes.
O que é de especial nos sapatos? Pô, sapato, cara. Vamos lá.
Well, they're shoes. They're pretty. Some of them anyway. When I left Orley, the fashion was shoes with delicate tapered heels and embellishments in the front. A ribbon, perhaps, or embroidery. In soft colors, of course. It was spring.
Eu não entendi.
Never mind. I just have a weakness for pretty shoes. It is so frivolous of me, I know. Oh, I could talk about shoes all day, but we have things to do, don't we?
Outra coisa, outra dica pra dar presente pra ela, sacou?
Yes? Something you need? Yes?
Calma que ela tem mais informação pra gente. Você era uma menestrel viajante. Você tem contos para compartilhar? Isso aqui é importante porque talvez, se eu não me engano, e talvez ela possa nos ensinar a classe de prestígio, que esqueci, a classe avançada, enfim. A especialização de bardo, que é da minha build, é uma das builds, que é uma das especializações importantes. Você era uma menestrel viajante? Você tem contos para compartilhar?
Of course I do. I love stories far too much to keep them to myself. Everyone should be able to benefit from them, I think.
Conte-me algumas das suas... conte-me sobre as prole das trevas. Conhece alguma história de Orley? Orley?
Of course, Orlesians enjoy telling stories. I shall tell you my favorite tale of Aveline, the Knight of Orley.
Vai em frente.
A long time ago, a girl child was born to a farmer. He had hoped for a son, not a daughter, and so he told his wife to abandon the child in the woods. Before the cold could claim her, the baby was found by a tribe of Dalish elves who took pity on the poor mewling thing and raised her as their own. Aveline, for that is what they called her, grew strong and quick and clever under the guidance of the elves. She learned to wield a sword as well as any man, could kill a deer with an arrow at 100 paces, and was as graceful on the back of a horse as she was on foot.
Continue.
Aveline's Dalish guardians saw that she could easily best any Orlesian chevalier in battle, and wanted to show the cruel humans the child they had left to die. They bestowed upon her a fine horse and armor, and sent her to prove herself to her people in the grand tourney. Now in those days, no woman was allowed to take up arms, let alone compete in the grand tourney, but Aveline kept her helmet on, and was not discovered.
Continue.
Aveline won many events and gained the approval of the adoring crowd. Eventually, she came face to face with the knight Kaleva in the grand melee. Aveline had already bested him in the joust, and Kaleva was determined not to lose a second time. Out of desperation to regain his honor, Kaleva tripped Aveline and tossed her to the ground, ripping off her helmet as he did so. Silence fell upon the arena as Aveline was revealed. Kaleva declared the previous competitions invalid. A woman had taken part, and this was not allowed. But the crowd cheered for Aveline. Kaleva was furious, for he had lost to a woman and was now being shamed. Blinded by his rage, he forced Aveline to her knees. "Know your place, woman," cried he, and slit her throat.
Uou! Eu estava esperando final feliz. Eu também.
The son of the king, Prince Freyan, was present. He recognized Aveline's skill and bravery and began to see the injustice done to the women in his land. When he was made king, he rewrote the laws of Orley so that women could also become chevalier. He honored Aveline and knighted her after her death. And to this day, any female who is knighted reveres Aveline the Brave, for she is the patron of all women chevalier.
Caramba, que legal, velho. Essa história foi massa. Conte-me sobre a prole das trevas. Você conhece alguma lenda fereldiana? Boa. Fereldanesa. Fereldanesa, eu prefiro fereldiana. Mas tudo bem.
I know one, told to me by my mother a long time ago. It always chilled me to the bone. Maybe you have heard of Flemeth?
Uou. Ok, sim, eu já ouvi falar da Flemeth. Flemeth? A mãe de Morrigan se chama Flemeth. Vou mandar essa.
Are you sure? Was she the Flemeth of legend? Flemeth, the devourer of men? Flemeth, mother of witches? Flemeth, demon-touched, who dwells in the mists?
Ela não se apresentou como tal.
Ferelden mothers scare their daughters with talk of Flemeth. They say that if you're bad, Flemeth will spirit you away and bind you to her forever. They also say that Flemeth mourns her lost beauty and will steal yours through your looking glass if she catches you.
Conte-me a história toda.
Flemeth's beauty was known throughout the land. She had hair like unto a moonless night, skin as pale as winter's first snow, and eyes as beautiful and perilous as the sea. When she came of age, she came to the attention of the Lord of Highever, Conobar, and he took her for his wife. Conobar soon learned that his young bride had the gift of magic. He kept this a secret, for he feared that she would be taken from him. Flemeth stayed with Conobar for some years, and with his blessing, she practiced her art. And then one day, a young poet named Osen came to the castle. Flemeth was captivated by Osen's voice, and he by her beauty, and they fell in love.
Ih, Flemeth. Flemeth meteu Gaia no Lorde, cara. Que isso? Oh, a trama se complica.
Flemeth longed to be with her true love, and she and Osen fled from Conobar's lands, seeking refuge in the Kokari wilds with the Chasing tribes. They lived there happily for many a year, till the day Flemeth received news that Conobar was dying and longed to see her face one last time. Flemeth's heart swelled with pity for the man who once was her husband, and begged Osen to return to Conobar's side with her. But when Flemeth and Osen entered Highever, they were captured by Conobar's men, and Osen was slain in front of Flemeth's eyes. Flemeth was imprisoned in the highest tower of the castle, there to await Conobar's judgment on her. Distraught at the loss of her love, Flemeth plotted revenge against her husband. She summoned a fey demon, intending for it to wreak vengeance on Conobar. But a spell went awry. The demon possessed Flemeth. Turning her into an abomination, the halls of the castle ran red with blood as Flemeth slaughtered Conobar and all his men. The last of Flemeth's humanity melted away, and at dawn, she stole back to the wilds to plot and scheme for 100 years. They say she took to her side many Chasing men, and with their help, begat her daughter witches, who even now prowl the dark places of the Kokari wilds.
Ok, então quer dizer que essa é a Flemeth? Ok, conte-me sobre a prole das trevas. Cara, tá muito interessante ouvir essas histórias.
Chantry lore says it is man's pride that created the Darkspawn. In ages past, the mages of the Tevinder Imperium ruled much of the world we know. In their pride, they thought their magics invincible and imagined that they were greater than the Maker himself. So thinking, they invaded his golden city, planning to take it for themselves and depose their own creator. But they were impure and full of sin.
Peraí, eu me perdi.
Any land that was touched by the taint became blighted and would suffer no life.
Peraí, eu tô com medo de não conseguir ouvir essa história de novo.
Something you need?
Eu gostaria de conversar sobre algo.
Yes? What's on your mind?
Contos.
Of course I do. I love stories far too much.
Eu acabei me perdendo, cara.
Everyone should be able to benefit from them, I think.
Conte-me sobre a prole das trevas. Boa.
Chantry lore says it is man's pride that created the Darkspawn.
E essa é muito importante essa história.
The mages of the Tevinder Imperium ruled much of the world we know. In their pride, they thought their magics invincible and imagined that they were greater than the Maker himself. So thinking, they invaded his golden city, planning to take it for themselves and depose their own creator. But they were impure and full of sin. And it is with the sin that they tainted the golden city, corrupting it forever. The Maker cursed them and cast them from his sight. Wherever they went, they spread the taint of their sin. Any land that was touched by the taint became blighted and would suffer no life. Instead, the Darkspawn arose to torment us and remind us of our hubris.
Ah, moleque. Isso é importante, velho. Pô, maneiro. Tinha outra história que eu queria ouvir.
Which one?
Caraca, tem muita... Ela sabe muita coisa. Você sabe alguma coisa sobre os Valelfos?
I have heard a little about how the elves gained their freedom from the Tevinter Imperium. When Andraste began her exalted march against the Imperium, the elves joined her cause to fight their masters. The great elven leader, Shatan, born in captivity, rose up to lead his people. He foresaw a future where the elves were free. Shatan was killed when Andraste was betrayed, but the elves continued to fight, eventually breaking free of the Imperium. The elves claimed the Dales in the south and settled there in the land of their own.
Isso não durou muito.
The elves lived in the Dales for centuries. They resurrected the worship of the elven gods and would allow the building of no chantry. This angered the chantry, and the hostility between the two factions finally broke out in open war. The Chantry says the elves struck first, but I do not know whether to believe it. The Chantry declared a wholly exalted march against the elves, named for Andraste's similar march against Tevinter. During the exalted march of the Dales, the elven cities were sacked, and the elven state completely dissolved. Some of the elves bitterly accepted their fates and surrendered to human rule, living in the human cities as second-class citizens. But others, still fiercely proud of their heritage, refused to bow to the humans, and instead became homeless wanderers. There were the elves of the Dales, the Dalish.
Caraca, muito irado, velho, as histórias. Isso aqui, meu, é ouro. Essas histórias aqui, pra galera que curte o RPG de mesa, meu irmão, você saber desses contos, dessas histórias, pra poder desenhar suas próprias aventuras dentro do Dragon Age. E são extremamente imersivos. Cara, é muito rico. É muito rico o cenário do Dragon Age. O que você sabe sobre Andraste?
Andraste was the Maker's chosen. The Maker had long since abandoned the world when the sound of her singing turned his ear. Beauty, grace, and wisdom enraptured him, and he offered to take her from this flawed world to become his divine bride. But Andraste had an earthly husband and would not forsake him. Instead, she beseeched the Maker to return to his people once more. So earnest was her plea that the Maker was moved and promised that he would create a paradise on earth if all abandoned their false gods and turned once more to him. And this is why Andraste began her exalted march on the idolaters of the Tevinter Imperium. The Maker granted her his powers with which to smite her enemies. Andraste brought the Imperium to its knees, and her victories converted many to the worship of the Maker.
Guerra Santa. Olha, isso é tão cíclico, cara. Essa história da Andraste. Já aconteceu tantas vezes na história humana. Fale-me sobre Shartan de novo. Como Andraste morreu?
Alas, it was the frailties of men that betrayed and killed Andraste. Her earthly husband, Maferath, a chieftain of the Alamari tribes himself, grew jealous as his wife's popularity and influence overshadowed his own. She was also revered as the Maker's betrothed, and Maferath began to see their own bond waning in significance as Andraste became ever more devoted to the Maker. Out of envy and spite, Maferath made a pact with the Archon Hysarian of Tevinter, allowing his beloved Andraste to be ambushed and captured. Andraste was burned at the stake in Minrathous, the capital of Tevinter.
Caraca, meu irmão, mas Tevinter tem um Chantry, não tem? Ou porque o Criador não a salvou com seu poder? O nome disso se chama Mártir. É da mesma forma que o Criador não tirou Jesus da cruz.
I have thought on this too. Did he withdraw his sight from her at that moment? Where were all the powers he bestowed upon her? This question has come to me many times, and I have no answer. Perhaps there was no way for Andraste to return to the Maker but through her death. We will never know for sure.
Ok, vamos andando. Aí, mais 3 pontinhos, valeu, cara. Ela contou muitas histórias boas. Agora vamos para Stem.
Why are we stopping?
Esse cara é complicado de conversar, viu? Deixa pra lá, vamos continuar andando. Acho que deveríamos conversar um pouco. Estamos trabalhando juntos. Acho que deveríamos nos conhecer melhor.
There are darkspawn to be fought. Is this delay needful?
Deixa pra lá. Preciso saber se eu posso confiar em você. Boa.
I am Kunari. I have given my word to aid you. We are not people of idle promises.
Eu nunca vi um Kunari antes. Conte-me sobre o seu povo.
No.
What? Como assim, não? Que tipo de resposta é essa, cara? Tá louco, tio? Eu paguei o jogo, cara. Você tem que falar as informações pra mim. Não? Por que não?
People are not simple. They cannot be summarized for easy reference in the manner of... The elves are a lithe, pointy-eared people who excel at poverty.
Você disse que estava no exército. Ok, você está bem e ficou naquela jaula por semanas.
You are concerned. No need. I am fit enough to fight.
Você disse que estava no exército.
I am.
Putz, grila. Você já lutou numa guerra?
I have always fought in war, human.
O que você quer dizer com isso?
My people have been at war since the moment we set foot in the Northern Islands.
Então os Knares não vêm de ilhas?
We do now.
Ah, puta merda, maluco. Ok, de onde vocês vieram? Contra quem você está lutando?
The enemy is everywhere. The jungle itself. Vipers, hunting cats. Even some of the flowers can kill the unwary. And always there is the Imperium. And the Talvashoth.
O que são Talvashoth?
I do not see how this matters. Seheron and Parvolan are distant. Ferelden and the Darkspawn are immediate.
Qual é a tua pressa?
What a strange language you speak. You say hurry, where I would say duty.
Mas não é o seu dever cuidar do flagelo.
No, it is yours, and you are chatting with me instead.
Chato, véi.
As you wish.
Ah, ganhei 2 pontos com ele. Vamos ver.
Yes.
O que você estava fazendo naquela jaula? Eu já sei o que ele vai responder. Ele estava fazendo o que? Ele estava preso. Quer ver?
Sitting, as you observed.
É quase isso. Ok. Não sei o que não é isso que eu quis dizer. Você tem que ser tão literal?
No, it's a choice, not a necessity.
Ele é um babaca. Ok. Você vai responder a minha pergunta?
I did.
Puta merda.
Ashera, was there anything else?
Ele é babaca. Eu queria discutir algo que você mencionou. Boa.
Speak, then. Then I suggest we move on.
Vamos tentar. Tem uma pergunta.
I am hardly surprised.
Não estou surpreso. Por que você veio a Ferelden?
To answer a question.
Oh. Qual foi a pergunta?
The Arishok asked what is the Blight. By his curiosity, I am now here.
Uou, agora sim. Você não tem que apresentar um relatório, então? O que é um Arishok?
The one who commands the Antam, the body of the Kunari.
Então ele é o teu rei. Por que ele se importa com o flagelo?
Why do you?
Eu sou um guardião cinzento. É o meu trabalho. Isso pode destruir o mundo?
Do you think the Kunari live on some other world, then?
Você não tem que apresentar um relatório, então? Você encontrou a resposta para a pergunta dele?
A portion of it.
Oh. Qual foi a resposta?
Were you not at Ostagar when the army was overwhelmed? That is your answer.
Oh. Por que os Knares se importam com o flagelo? Isso aqui eu já perguntei, não já? Já. Você não tem que apresentar um relatório, então?
Yes.
O que você ainda está fazendo aqui, então? Quando você vai fazer isso?
Never. I cannot go home.
Por que não?
It doesn't matter now. Can we move on? We keep the Darkspawn waiting. Speak, then. Then I suggest we move on.
Deixa eu ver se tem mais alguma outra
I am
pergunta.
hardly surprised.
Já foi.
As you wish.
Beleza. E agora vamos bater papo com ela. A waifu A melhor de todas.
What do you wish of me?
Aqui chega o brilho nos olhos é diferente, meu amigo. Eu gostaria de fazer uma pergunta. Perguntar algo.
If you must.
Deixa eu aqui. Você pode ensinar outras pessoas a ser metamorfo. Você cresceu nos ermos Kokari. Você já foi caçada. A Flemeth realmente é o que ela parece ser?
Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be?
Uma velha, uma bruxa poderosa, uma louca esquisita, humana. Uma bruxa poderosa.
You mean, is she truly the Flemeth of legend and story? Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother, to frighten them into obedience.
Eu nem sabia que existia uma outra assim. Eu ouvi alguma coisa sobre isso. Eu estou interessado na verdade. Boa!
I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire.
Boa. Isso parece interessante.
As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her.
Há quanto tempo foi isso?
Many centuries, before this land was even named Ferelden. The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the Bard, and fled the castle of her husband, the dread Lord Conabar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, my mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conabar the jealous lord, who looked on from afar. Lord Conabar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife. And Osen agreed.
Olha a história que a Flemeth conta, brother. Caraca, a história que a gente... Tudo dentro do... A gente acabou de ouvir a história contada por um bardo. E foi a Liliana, ela contou outro rolê. Ele vendeu a mulher dele para outro homem. Caraca, malandro. Olha aí como é que é essa história.
The life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement.
Olha aí.
All would have been well had Lord Conabar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge.
Ela falou com os espíritos ou demônios?
Spirits first, and 'twas they who slew Conabar. Flemeth did not turn to the demon until... much later. Lord Conabar's allies chased Flemeth, you see. Chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies.
Bom, ela nunca invadiu ou ele nunca derrotou?
The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion. As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began.
Caraca, olha só que maneira a história, velho. Você acredita na versão dela? Como é que Flemeth sobreviveu por tanto tempo? A lenda fala sobre Flemeth ter muitas filhas. As abominações geralmente não são horrores insanos. Como é que Flemeth sobreviveu por tanto tempo?
The demon within her has transformed her into something else. An abomination, perhaps some would say. I know not. I only know my mother is clever, and she is part of the wilds as it is part of her. But she is no immortal. She bleeds. A blade in her heart would kill her like any other, were it lucky enough to find her.
A lenda fala que Flemeth tem muitas filhas.
You ask if I have sisters? I have asked of this myself. The stories tell of many witches of the wilds after all, not just the one. And these tales existed long before I did. Flemeth refuses to speak of other daughters, if they existed. So, should I believe I am her first? I doubt that too.
Por que ela se recusaria a falar delas?
The Chastened tell of a falling out between Flemeth and her daughters. They say that one day she hunted them all through the wilds and ate their hearts. It may be true. I have never seen another witch or heard of one. Perhaps one day Flemeth will eat my heart as well.
Você acredita na versão dela?
I do not believe everything that Flemeth claims. Oft it seems her bitterness has colored her memories. But on the whole, yes, I believe this tale, if not all.
As abominações geralmente não são horrores insanos?
How often is this usually? Always? If not always, then when is it not true? There are more things in this world and the next than you or I could ever hope to understand. What Flemeth became is a mystery. I suspect, even to her.
Uma história interessante. Muito obrigado. Caraca, muito obrigado mesmo.
Flemeth tells it with far more embellishment than I, but you are welcome. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious, nevertheless.
Fala, seu Vevé. E aí, meu querido, beleza? Como é que você tá? Tá de folga hoje não, né? Hoje tem jogo. Eu posso perguntar da tua mãe? A minha mãe? Poucas são abominações lendárias. Ela se interessou pela minha mãe, que legal. Minha mãe morreu, recentemente de fato. Eu a amo, o que mais você quer saber? Minha mãe morreu recentemente de fato.
Ah, then you have my sympathies for what it is worth. Which is very little, I am certain. It matters not. Let us move on.
5 pontos com Morgan. Caraca, velho. Assim, 47 minutos de teve um cara que comentou esses dias aqui num dos vídeos do YouTube. Nossa, quanta falação. Que jogo horroroso. Que jogo horroroso, só tem falação. Eu não sei, e era Dragon Age. O primeiro vídeo da série do Dragon Age. Mas, velho, isso foi ontem, cara. Ontem foi um dos últimos comentários que eu respondi, mas eu dei risada pra cacete. E eu falei, então, cara, isso é jogo de RPG. Jogo de RPG você tem história, você tem que interagir com os personagens pra saber o que tá acontecendo. Muito divertido. E toma aí, ó, especialmente pra você, cara, que comentou sobre falação. 48 minutos de falação. Só falação. Bonito isso. Isso foi bonito. Gostei.